Hi, welcome back to Beautiful Souls. This is going to be What If Deku Was a Hulk? And many of you may be surprised about the thumbnail. Yes, this will have elements of the community-based quirk that we came up with the help of the community. And well, I sat down and I was seriously thinking about this for a while. I needed someone that could match this Deku on a pure strength level. Someone that could either be a great nemesis, or be the person that either be a person for good or a person for evil. And I decided on making this a hero because the whole lore behind the Hulk is he becomes a rage monster and then he becomes one of the greatest heroes that Earth ever had. If you've done the series, if you've watched the series or read the comics of the Avengers Next Generation, kind of playing off that about like the original Avengers and everything being counted as the world's greatest heroes, and then Hulk being an original Avenger and that kind of thing. So that's where a lot of the influence for this series comes. And I've been thinking about this, and well, I'm going to use aspects of the quirk for the character that you see. Many of you probably already know who this is, Sarah Kerrigan. I'm going to put a link down to the page to where you can actually buy the game. Do go support the creators of this, because I just pulled this off of a Google search, and this is actually from a legitimate source, so please do go support them, the creators of StarCraft. So that being said, we're going to cut to our story. Our story begins on a stormy night. A child is born. She has tendrils for hair, and her eyes have slits like a bird of prey. Her skin has purplish tones on her arms, legs, and head. Doctors are a little creeped out by this because the child has human features, but they don't look like a human whatsoever. Though in this society, it's not that big of a difference. They're just like, oh, this is a pretty interesting mutation quirk. So they do run tests to see if the child is going to be safe going home with their parents, if there's any things that should be watched out for their parents. Because mutation quirks, there are certain limitations that could happen, or dangerous situations that individuals with mutation quirks can get into in their quirk go a little haywire. Needless to say, because there are villains that kind of match up with where their quirk went off and then society failed them, and yada yada yada. It'd be too much of a tangent to go on at this time. So we cut to about 6 to 7 years later. This child has grown up being called a free villain because of the nature of her quirk. She develops a sad outlook on life, that one of disgust, hatred, fear of people in general. She becomes more and more like solitude. Like she slowly keeps keeping to like herself over the years. One day she stops by like a local park, and she begins to play kind of like, and then eventually like she starts moving the tendrils of her hair to kind of get used to, because she's never really done this, and she just wants to be able to protect herself, because a few times that her quirk did activate, like her transformation portion of her quirk did activate, she had abilities to be able to move the tendrils of her hair as though they were like other appendages. And she slowly started testing out her abilities. One one kid and like two of his goons like start bullying her, calling her a freak, a monster, and a villain, and she starts getting a menacing look. And well, one of the boys kicks her down and starts creating explosions and saying along the lines, "See, guys, she's a villain. You know, you gotta put villains down. You gotta get them." And just all around being like a dick. And right as Sarah is about to like go and use her quirk, a boy gets in between her and the other boy and says, "Kachad, if you don't stop this, I will never forgive you." And as the boy says this, like Katsuki Bakugo and like his two goons starts screaming and says, "See, she's a monster! Run!" As Izuku, he turns around and he sees this girl, like this is well, for lack of a better monster, this 6'5" monster starting to like de-transform, and it de-transforms back into the little girl that had the weird hair in his eyes. And he's just kind of staring at her kind of stuck, because he's in Izuku's mind. He's like, "Oh my god, that quirk's amazing!" Kind of, because Izuku in this, he's still going to be like that hero fanboy, but tragically, I do have to do a few things to make this quirk, his quirk transformation happen. And before any of you go to the comments, no, this is not going to be like Sarah converting him into a Zerg and he exhibits powers. No, it's not going to be that. It has a little bit into it, but it's not Izuku being a Zerg that causes this. It's his own quirk that he was actually born with that brings about this mutation when he absorbs a particular type of radiation. So I digress. Back to her story. So Sarah, like in her mind, just sees the look, like the frozen look on this boy's face, and mistakes it for fear. And she's like, "Sorry, no, I'm a monster." As she like starts to like kind of turn up, as she like starts to turn away, and Izuku's like, "No, wait, your quirk's amazing. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to stare. Mom says it's rude to stare with people with mutation quirks. It's just, you have a transformation quirk, but I thought you had a mutation quirk. I heard what he said back there, and, well, don't mind him. He's kind of an asshole now. He makes fun of me, like, in school, and, well, I just couldn't stand by and see someone else, like, get picked on like that, you know?" And Izuku just kind of doing his innocent smile. And Sarah just looks at him, and her eyes, like, begin to glow like a purplish hue. And then cracks her skin, and Izuku's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. I really do think your quirk's amazing. Like, if I had a quirk like you, maybe Kachan wouldn't pick on me like he has been." And this is when Sarah's like, "Wait, why didn't you use your quirk?" And Izuku looks down and he's like, "Well, I'm quirkless, and I want to be a hero, but Kachan's been saying I should give up." And Sarah just thinks, it's like, wow, too bright. Oh no, too bright kind of moment happening, you know, like the standard trope of like the main character being like too pure to like view. Because, mind you, Serica has had it rough, and she kind of sees a little bit of, like, Izuku went through some similar experiences, being picked on because, in his case, being quirkless, but hers having, like, a monstrous look, and her quirk not being much better because if you guys know what it's not ultra, it's not mutalisk, it's not mutas. I will figure out what the name is, but towards the end I will do a little excerpt about it. But it's the one that is, it's like a cross between the one that can shoot the spikes, and it can attack both ground and air units, but it's a ground unit. And the Zergling, it's kind of like a cross between the two, like her first transformation. So she kind of sees a little bit of herself in this kid, because yeah, he doesn't have a quirk, but he still gets picked on. And it just opens her eyes that everyone has like certain faults. And the two like begin to talk as like a hero comes by, because they would say like 3 kids running away screaming monster. A hero would show up. He would ask what's going on. They would explain the situation, and the hero would kind of scold Sarah, and she would just give him that grimace look, like she wants to kill him. She's like, and the hero is like, tells her, it's like, oh no, don't get me wrong, young lady. You have a pretty interesting quirk, but you should not use your quirk in that way. Yes, people may call you a freak, but... And Sarah's like, what would you know about it? You're a hero. And the hero would be like, well, my quirk, it's... People called me a villain when I was growing up. Just because my quirk's blood related. In any case, you guys didn't break the law, because, looking at Sarah, even though you transformed, I can relate to it. I went through some challenges as a kid too, because of the whole nature of blood with my quirk. Don't let people get you down, kids. And he turns to the boy, and he's like, so, what's your quirk? And the boy reiterates, it's like, well, I'm quirkless. And the hero's like, young man, it's kind of dangerous to do that. You shouldn't act like that recklessly. You could have gotten hurt. And just basically doing general, like, public relations. And some of you may be already able to guess who the hero is. Comment down below if you know who it is, because I'm not actually going to say it in this video, because it doesn't play a part until later in the series. So, that being said, Izuku and Sever spend the rest of the day kind of hanging out, and Izuku, he's like, this person's pretty amazing. She has a really strong quirk. And Sarah's like, this is strange for her, because outside of her family, no one really treats her normal. Like, her dad and her mom don't say anything about appearance, because they do have somewhat similar appearances, but they're not as pronounced as hers. And this does give her a little solace to where she's not evil, but she's also not friendly. If any of you know, like, the whole, like, actual Sarah Kerrigan's, like, personality, she's as close to that as I can get without the influence of the levels of technology and, well, her being raised as a ghost and everything. So, back to our story. To the end of the day, like, Izuku comes home, and his mom is like, Izuku, is everything okay? I got a call from, like, the police that you were involved in an incident. And Izuku, like, says, yeah, I'm sorry, Mom. I just couldn't stand by and watch Kachan bully someone else. It just really bothers me ever since his quirk came in. But whatever, I'm not upset about that. I met someone, and she has an amazing quirk. Izuku basically goes over how he met Sarah and they have plans to meet up later. And Nico's thinking, she's in her mind, she's like, thank God he has a friend. Like, being really concerned about it. So we skip a few years, I would say 4, to about when Izuku is about 10 and Sarah is almost 11. She's a little bit older, and after talking with her parents after the end of that school year, one moment of getting a knock at the door. Sorry about that, wrong door. Where was I? Oh yeah, Sarah was talking to her parents like that whole semester that she doesn't mind getting up. She would like to start getting up earlier to go to school that our friends at. And when she says this to her parents are like, wait, you have a friend, sweetie? Her mom's like, what, my baby girl has a friend. And her dad's like, what? My little girl, you were able to make a friend? And then Sarah looks at him and is like, yeah, well, we've been meeting up every now and then. He's quirkless, but he doesn't pick on me. He actually says my quirk's pretty amazing. And he's been talking to me, and, well, I always get bullied at my school. I know if I transfer, I'm going to get bullied, but is it possible that I can go to his school so I at least have someone so I at least have a friend that I can hang out with? And she's saying this in tears, and her parents end up saying, of course, sweetie, of course, baby, because Sarah's never had anyone, no one, ever, none of the kids ever wanted to play with her because of the way she looked. And I know I could go into having this character be friends with Suyu, but I'm already going to do that with another what if. So I don't want to be using elements of a story with 2 series back to back, which is why I'm doing this one this way. So the next school year, when Izuku sits down in class, he feels a tap on his shoulder. And he looks over, and there's this weird purple, tendril sitting on his hair. And he kind of freaks out, and he turns around, and then he's like, Sarah, you're going to be in my class? And she's like, yeah, I talked to my parents over the summer, and, well, I wanted to surprise you. I should have told you over the break, but my parents transferred me to school so I could hang out with you. I hope that's okay. And Izuku's eyes just widen, and everyone else in the class is just looking at this too, because they did notice this weird girl walking in, and they're like, they're probably gonna pick on the quirkless kid. And Bakugo and his 2 friends kind of gulp when she enters the room. And Izuku was off doing his own thing, looking at his notebook, doing his nerd stuff. So he didn't hear Sarah's Izuku, before she used one of her tendril hairs to kind of touch his shoulder. And so the teacher says, quiet down. Ah, yes. Some of you may already know our new transfer student. Miss Kerrigan, come up to the front of the class and introduce yourself. And tell us a little bit about yourself and your quirk. And she's like, I hate this part. And Izuku just kind of looks at her and smiles, because Izuku's ecstatic, because he's kind of in the same boat. Kachad and everything used to be his friend, but now he's really started being bullied. And after hanging out with Sarah and hearing how she was not really having friends because kids always picked on her, his view of Katsuki changed, not to one of an amazing friend, but really viewing him in a very negative light, like he's just a jerk and everything. So Sarah walks up to like the front of the class and she introduces herself. Hi, my name's Kara Sargon. And, well, I don't have many hobbies because, well, in the past, my quirk, it's made people a little off-put. As she's looking in class and she catches eyes with, like, 3 bullies. And she kind of says, well, my quirk, it's called Zerd, like my parents. It's a mutation quirk, and, well, some people in my family can also transform. As she gets a little quiet, some of the guys in the class are like, oh, like, wow, she's cool. And the girls are like, oh my god, she has weird hair. And some of the other kids are like, yeah, but her eyes, like they were glowing just now. Her eyes are pretty cool, you know? And she kind of looks up and she just sees Izuku looking at her, like giving her the thumbs up. And a lot of things like, yeah, but she hangs out with that quirkless kid. Doesn't she? She apparently knows that kid. Does she know he's quirkless? Or has like Izuku like made her think that he has abilities or something? So over the next few years, over the next like 4 to 5 years, Izuku stops getting bullied by the majority, but still gets bullied by Katsuki because, like, when he does look around to make sure Kerrigan, Kerrigan him, but Izuku calls her Sarah because they do have like that real friendship. So he'd be like looking around for Kerrigan, and when she's not around, he would always like pick on Izuku. And this really reinforces in his mind that Katsuki is a bad guy. And kind of like really enforce that bully aspect of Katsuki in Izuku's mind. Until one day, Izuku is, I don't know, and he kind of stands up to Katsuki, and he's like, Katsuki, become a real dick. And, well, you said you wanted to be a hero. A hero wouldn't bully on someone just because of their appearance or the fact that they're quirkless. If anything, they would give them hope. And quite frankly, you haven't done that at all. So if anything, you're the villain, not Sarah. And before Katsuki, he just feels like something wrap around like his body, and he thinks, oh crap, as he gets slammed into the wall by like a tendril. And he's a little taken aback by this, and Izuku's like looking over and he's like, Sarah, don't do it. He's not even worth it. We're gonna prove this guy wrong. We're gonna be heroes, right? And she just kind of looks at him with her eyes glowing, and they're a much darker purple than what she was, because she kind of overheard what he was saying to Izuku, and this infuriated her. But Izuku, with what he said, did kind of calm her down, and she's like, at least Izuku's my friend. And she has made like a couple of friends, but her and Izuku are best friends, which is why some of Sarah Kerrigan's other friends have kind of stopped picking on Izuku, because talking with her and then her talking about the way she talks about Izuku, they're a little scared of her, but at the same time, a few of them respect her, their friend, and like not pick on someone she views very highly. They're kind of like, I can't believe Sarah likes you as a friend. Ugh. So that being said, we cut to a few years later. I would say this is about 2 years before the anime starts, so they are 12. Izuku is 12, turning 13, and Sarah is already 13 years old. Sarah is, for reference point, everyone, Sarah is about 9 months, is about 7 to 9 months older than Izuku. I haven't really decided on a birthday, so we can either go by the standard of her actual wiki page from StarCraft, the StarCraft official page of her actual birth date, and I'll get that implemented and then kind of retcon a few pieces in part 1. Little side note, how I like to do my part zeros is to really set up and build the world and then go from there to part 1. Instead of having like an OVA, part 1, part 2, part 3, and stuff like that. I decided to try to condense it into 2 part zeros and call it as such. Back to our story. One day, Izuku is talking to Sarah, and they're having like a snack and everything outside at like their favorite juice bar on their way home. And they're talking, and Izuku's like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, Sarah, I'm not gonna be able to hang out this summer. My family, my mom wants me to go to a family reunion. And, well, I haven't seen him in a while. And Mom says you can't really come." And Sarah gets a little sad at this, and she gets like, "It's not because you're a quirk, it's just, this is really a family thing. Someone in our family's ailing, and, well, it's kind of a memorial / their birthday party, and it's really just family alone, you know. And I'm gonna be gone all summer. I'll still contact you and call, like on the weekends, and better not give up. You better start training. Better keep up your training, and don't let Kachan get under your skin while I'm gone, okay? I know he can be a bit of a dick, but he has kind of mellowed out. I think he's definitely scared of you." And Sarah begins to laugh, like, "Yeah, that little squirt definitely would be scared of me. Especially after what he did to you and him receiving that scar on his cheek. I don't think he'll ever mess with me again." And Izuku kind of punches her arm a little bit, and she's like, "Hey, what was that for?" And Izuku's like, "You can't go around hurting people like that, okay? Don't be the monster that everyone says you are." And Sarah gets angry, and some of her other friends are like coming back from like the bar, and they can't believe what Izuku just said to her. And she kind of looks at him and like gives him a smile. "You know, Izuku, you're the only one that I let get away with that. It's just because, well, I know when you say it, you don't actually mean that I'm a monster." As she begins to laugh as like one of her friends kindly sits their drinks down on the table. And is just looking at this like, "Oh, yeah, if anyone called her that, but him." Ooh. Kind of looking back when like she gave the little cut to Katsuki. Because some people do fear her, but she is liked by the friends that she does have. But the difference between the others and her and Izuku is they're really friends. Like, yeah, some of the kids in the classes that he's had have stopped bullying as much as they would have in canon. But at the same time, they still have that air of disgust or like they're better than Izuku. But Sarah's never had that with him, and vice versa. Like, yeah, people like call Kerrigan, like Sarah, a monster because of the way she looks and her quirk. Izuku's never been like that, and the times that he has said it, it's truly been him just quoting what other people said. Dude, he doesn't really believe like she's a monster either. So that is kind of how like they're really friends. So they make their ways. Karen says, "Well, I've got to get the train back before to my neighborhood before my parents get worried." And Izuku's like, "Why didn't you? Aren't your parents? Aren't you going to be moving like next year?" And she's like, "Yeah, I've got to pack up." So we cut to a few months later. We cut to about a month later, and Izuku's at his family's home and everything. And reports and stuff start coming in of a villain attack, and Izuku is standing out with his family and everything. And his cousin, like his little cousin, is there. She is, let's see, age Izuku at 12, almost 13. I would say she is about 3 years younger than Izuku. And I will get to her name. Her name's not really that important for now. So they're out the family picnic and everything, and they're seeing everything. And all of a sudden, one of the villains that was on the radio and everything of the attack shows up there. And he sets down a device, and all the adults start freaking out and start running away. Well, the villain immediately kills his cousin's dad, and her mother was going to be late. Like, no, no. As he begins to run to her, and as the device begins to explode, something in Izuku changes, and he gets a little bit bigger, and his arms begin to encompass the girl, and he takes the full brunt of the blast, albeit because this isn't like, holy shit, this is a little bomb. No, this is kind of like a fucking nuclear device. And for a good quarter mile, almost everything is incinerated, but Izuku is left in this crater. And when when heroes and stuff begin to get there and arrive, they just see this big four-armed monster that has green skin that is kind of like aquamarine in a sense. Like his skin tone is like an aquamarine, like a very dark green that's has a little bit of a blue tinge to it. Just standing there holding this little girl that has burn marks on her. And they go in, start attacking, this creature, thinking he's the cause of this, and he's finishing it. And news broadcasts are showing up. It seems there's a sole survivor from the villain attacks that had happened in such city. I will later retcon this in a 0.5, or, yeah, you know what? All the information that I don't get to in this video, I will put into a 0.5, which will only be about 5 to 6 minutes, and then I will do a part 1 from there. That being said, reports say, sole survivor, small child, and a monster. Heroes are engaging a monster of a sole survivor of a villain attack, as they just, video cameras capture, this hulking monster that has 4 arms, just pounding away heroes, left and right, saying, "Stay away! Stay away! Leave it!" Oh, sorry about that. I really can't do that voice right now. But basically, Izuku is yelling, "Stay away from me! Stay away!" And this is when a familiar hero like shows up, and he's like, a familiar hero shows up that Izuku kind of recognizes. And the hero's eyes begin to glow. Izuku's arms recess, and he transforms to about half the size, to a little bit over half. I would say 75% of the size that he used to be, but his skin is still green and his arms have disappeared. And Izuku finally like collapses, and he's just like kind of crying. He's like, no, my family, my cousin, she's hurt. Help her. I don't care what you do to me. Please help my cousin. As the boy falls over, and he's caught in wraps, and medical personnel come in. And at this, the news broadcast had been told to cut all feeds after what was seen. And we cut to a scene back to Izuku's hometown, to Sarah like just looking at the screen in utter shock. She's like, no, Izuku, he did it. Was he the cause? And over like the next few days, reports would come out, news organizations were tracking, but the damage had already been done. Like, they saw this monster like on film, and some people think it's just them trying to protect a villain. And Sarah's just worried for her friend because she hasn't heard from him, and she saw what happened on the news. They are able to like save his little cousin. And Izuku is in the next room, and he does kind of overhear the doctors talking to his aunt, and they're explaining that her daughter will be okay, and they begin to ask, like, but that brings us to like the other child, man. Or is there anyone else that can take him in? And she's like, I don't know what my brother Hasashi thought about. I don't know what my brother Hasashi was going through. And well, for now, I can look after him until we figure out what's going to be happening. And this is when Izuku begins to like break down, because he overheard them talking about his parents being dead, and he's just crying. And Sarah, because she hasn't been able to like bring herself to call Izuku a cell, and Izuku's phone begins to ring, and he sees the number, and he's like, wait, it's Sarah. And he answers, and Sarah goes, Izuku, I don't know if you want to talk, but just hear me out, okay? And Izuku, through the tears, goes, yeah. And she's like, you're crying. I'm sorry. You don't want to talk, you don't have to. And Izuku says, no, it's fine. Go on. What is it? Sarah goes, I saw what happened on the news. And, well, I just wanted to let you know, we're still friends. I don't care if you're the cause of it. I don't care if people call you a villain. You've always had my back, and, well, I'm gonna have your back, okay? No matter what, we're always gonna be friends, okay? And Izuku, like, says, thank you, I'm sorry, but it probably won't. I'll call you when I can talk more. I just want to be left alone right now. And Sarah hangs up the phone, and like Izuku hangs up the phone, and Sarah's just standing there kind of flabbergasted. And her parents kind of overheard this as the door, like a doorbell rings, and they answer the door, and there's like a few people in business suits. And I would say this is a couple of hours later. A few people are in business suits, and Izuku, like, these are representatives of the Midoriyas, that they explained that they were the Midoriya's lawyers and people that will handle their estate, but there's something that we need to discuss, and we have a letter. So they hand, but before we discuss what we say, what is pointed out in this letter, it's your choice. The letter, like, reads as such. And it reads, Mr. and Mrs. Kerrigan, we don't know each other too much, but we know your daughter. We're the parents of Izuku. If you're reading this, this means we're no longer around. And this is probably a few years after we've written this note. We've just recently met you and your daughter. And in the past year, our son has really taken a liking to her. And they're really good friends. It brings us back to this. If you're reading this, this means we're dead. We had a favor. You don't have to say yes, and we don't know what our friendship is, what our relationship is in the future. But our boy, he's all alone. And we know you're a loving family from how what Sarah has mentioned about you and the few interactions we've had with you. Our question is, would you be willing to take care of our boy? And with that, you beautiful souls, this is where I'm going to end this part. This has been What If Izuku Midoriya Was a Hulk? So, a little bit about the backstory. There is bombs being set off throughout the city, like gamma bombs that were taking out quarter mile sections of the city, and a few had already been set off. And because of Izuku taking the full brunt and kind of like protecting his little cousin with his newly awakened quirk, it mutated his DNA, because as he was transforming, his quirk like kind of got mutated by the gamma radiation. And he kind of hulked out as he was transforming, and then when the quirk was canceled out by, yes, it was Eraserhead at the second hero, but the first hero that has the blood quirk, if you comment down below who it is, I'll give you a heart if you know who it is. That being said, back to the story. So a gamma bomb had been set off, and Izuku basically hulked out. So when Eraserhead had canceled his quirk, he lost the arms and kind of like got back down, but his skin was still altered. So Izuku is going to now proceed like in canon, but over the next couple of years, he'll gain a little bit of more grasp on his actual quirk and the other quirk, as like they think of it, because iterations. So that being said, comment down below what you think about this video. For my birthday, I've been holding out releasing the next video to the Naruto series for as long as I can, because I ran into a few things, some hardware issues, and I decided, well, I'll just hold off on that, and then later on tonight I will release Clock, which is the new episode. What if Deku had Chrono Lock? I will be doing that, especially tonight. But I will try to get the next part to the Naruto series, a Yokai's Power, out later today, this afternoon. So like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you beautiful souls in the next video.